We just use the side out down to the first drop. You quickly go up the side out down up front, we're just about ready to start. And you just find a seat, rabbis up, ready to start.
Relatives and friends, as we begin our service, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones or electronic devices or place them in a silent mode. Thank you.
This has been a difficult time of loss for all of you. I only hope and pray that what we say and do today will bring you some measure of comfort and solace and closure. I begin with the verses of the 23rd Psalm, this great psalm of faith. And these words remind us that even when we feel alone or lonely, we are never truly alone, for God is with us. And we know that God is with Phil and Joan, and they are together again. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Echsar. You may join me if you're familiar with these verses. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I continue with this poem, which I know I read at Joan's funeral service. We read it at the synagogue often. We are going to be reading it on Yom Kippur. I read this now in memory of both of your parents. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we will remember Joan and Phil. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on theirs, we will remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. In this close circle of family and good friends, we have come together to remember and to express our love, respect, and admiration for Phillip, Phil, Grandpa. In a word, Phil was an extraordinary man with so many gifts. He was an intellectual with a great sense of humor. He was an engineer at heart, but also an inventor. He was a guiding light, and he made a difference in so many things, both little and large. And according to his family, he was complex. His Hebrew name, Perish, is definitely a clue to his personality. I mean, the name Philip is actually from the Greek, and it means lover of horses. And then perish is the Hebrew equivalent. Well, Phil may not have been a lover of horses, or he may have been. That's part I don't know. But he was a lover of an adventure, and a lover of flying, and a lover of sailing, and a lover of life and living. In fact, whatever Phil did, which is a great deal, he did it completely, fully, with a full heart, and a lot of passion, always with a lot of passion. Phil dreamed about being a Navy pilot early on. And then early in his life, he actually designed and built a model plane. This plane was capable of soaring very high and for very long distances because of his innovative wing design, which turns upward at the ends. And if you haven't noticed, most jets today have that design. Yes, he won that Navy competition. But he was very modest about any of his patents or accomplishments. He was exceedingly proud to serve in the United States Navy and Army. And as you know, he had a deep love for Israel. Phil was a staunch supporter of Israel. He was committed to her survival and vitality. He visited over 22 times, and he and Joan also served as volunteers for Israel. That often means helping out on a military base. And Phil had many other interests and passions. I mean, he loved dancing. More than that, he was a professional dancer. Did you know that? No? In Atlantic City, as part of the beauty pageants, he was one of the partners to dance with Miss America to help improve her dance moves. Did you know that? He never spoke about it. No. He loved to sing. He actually had a very good voice. And he especially enjoyed singing in Cole Emanuel, along with Joan. He was also a talented musician. He played the tuba, the sousaphone, right? And he loved bombastic marches. He was continually composing marches in his head. And, this is my own footnote, he marched to the beat of his own drum. He loved crabs and clams and Jersey corn, but not inside the house. Well, the corn was okay. That was out. But most of all, your dad, your grandpa, he loved you, his dear family, for one cannot speak of Phil alone without also speaking of Joan, his devoted and loving wife of 66 years. The story goes something like this. After serving in the United States Army, Phil went to Miami and landed a job there as an electrician. As fate would have it, Phil met Joan, who was then visiting Florida with a friend. And even though Joan was with somebody else, she broke up with Mark to start dating Phil. It may also have been that Phil had just purchased a brand new 1949 Mercury. So he was truly irresistible. And the rest is history. And over the many years, they evolved into a real team, a true partnership, friends, soulmates. Joan would always say, "I'm always with you." And she was. And Phil told me, I am so lucky that Joan put up with me. That's a quote. Joan was the calming influence of the family. Phil was more intense. Phil encouraged Joan to try new things. He liked joining the choir, to be her own person. And they really, really supported one another and complimented one another. And how they loved their children, Nancy, Linda and Scott, Sandra and Nancy, and the grandchildren, Mark, Ryan, and Andrea. I know how proud your parents, grandparents were of all of you. They were proud of your achievements, and prouder yet of the bright, sensitive, and caring family that you are. They felt your constant support, care, concern, and love. And Phil and Joan and Phil, it's almost like one word, will live on in you and through you and through us and through all of our sacred stories and precious memories. Phil would be the first to say that he was not actually religious as such. He was definitely a proud Jew. But he carried out in his lifetime the Jewish value of tzedakah, which often is translated as charity, but it's really righteousness. He tried to do the right thing. He believed in his own judgment and intelligence, and he led by the example of his good deeds. He carried out the true meaning of tzedakah. When Joan died, part of Phil died as well. Her last words, Joan's last words were, "Is Dad all right?" But he wasn't. His heart was broken, and it felt as if part of himself has been taken from him. And as you know, a new year is about to begin, and Joan and Phil would be welcoming that new year in song. And I believe they are together again so that their duet can continue. He loved and was loved in turn, and we know that this love has not ended now with his passing. For as long as we live, he and they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. And to keep those memories going, I am going to call on Linda.
Dad died of a broken heart, as you heard. The depth of his love for Mom only became obvious to me in the last 2 to 3 years. Her passing so stunned him that it sucked out half of his soul. Thus, the casual observer might have thought that he was able to carry on, but the wound was very deep. I'd like to tell you a little of the Miller family lore. This may not be as he told it, but please forgive me if I can't recount his exact words. He was a great storyteller. His father, John, left Russia to escape the pogroms and landed in Germany for 10 years, where he apprenticed to a master craftsman and became a master cabinet maker himself. So John moved to England, where John had a chance encounter with an Annie Albin. John immigrated to America, and later Annie's family did the same. Eventually they met again and married. John was a gifted sound engineer for RCA and was well sought after for his design to design the cabinets for their speakers. Dad grew up primarily in Somers Point with a father who was bedridden for the last 6 years of his life, dying when Dad was only 12. Dad's mother worked in a garment factory, and from the time Dad was about 9, he had a paper route to help support his mother and sister, Louise. He describes his childhood as being dirt poor, but he still had some fun, like being a daredevil and diving off of the bridge leading into Ocean City. Very early on, he developed a deep interest in flying, as you heard. He read everything he could about lift and engines and design, and then he won that contest, which I won't describe again. And his lifelong passion led him to take into his shock pass the National Navy exam for the V5 program for the Navy Flight Preparatory School during World War II. And he was also made an officer candidate. This gave him free tuition and board at any college in the U.S. that he could get into. But then, unfortunately, the program ended before he had a chance to actually get the flight training. But he did get the college education. In the 60s, he took flying lessons and even owned half of a Piper Cub for a few years, and he had great fun. He was telling me, flying to see Atlantic City Electric clients, maybe in Princeton or something, and instead of driving, he would get in the plane in Cross Keys and fly there and have them pick him up at the little airport where the crop dusters, went in. He was like, why drive if you can fly? He was really a creative guy, and he earned a couple of patents. They were in optics and things like that you wouldn't have expected him to get patents in. And he did all the work on his home himself, including constructing a home theater system and paneling the kitchen in teak, and to keep him on the high seas even when he was at home. Music has always been in his life. He was in a choir in the elementary school, actually at a Lutheran church, because it wasn't good to let people know that you were Jewish in Ocean City, Somers Point at that time. And then he, of course, was in Cole Emmanuel. He used to teach dance, as you heard, at the Miss America pageant. He taught my mother how to dance, and they also won dance contests. And then all the bar mitzvahs, these guys, bar mitzvahs and stuff, he'd dance, the two of them would dance, and they'd be the best people on the floor. They'd dance the Charleston and all kinds of tango, all those dances. They were great. He met his friend Murray Geller before he was married, and they were best men at each other's weddings, as far as I remember him telling me. And his Dad's musicality played off of Uncle Murray's. We have a recording that Dad made at Uncle Murray's request of the song Joe the Schmo when he was at Fort Jackson in the Army and Murray was in medical school. Dad also loved barbershop quartets, and we all enjoyed listening to the Geller family make string band music with Dad joining in on the bongos. And travel, he loved to travel. He loved to see and learn about other cultures. Many trips were with the Marlows, other friends, or new ones made during these adventures. They visited Spain, Israel, Austria, took a sobering concentration camp tour, Went to Argentina, Chile, China, the South Pacific, the Caribbean, Australia, multiple places in Canada, multiple national parks, and many, many ski resorts. Every trip he took was an opportunity for enrichment. He'd always find a museum or someplace he could go and learn about the area he was in. He didn't waste a moment. And when they returned, they'd sit us down and regale us with photos and films, making us wish we'd gone with them. And he had a good knack for cooking. And he trained with a chef down the shore when he was in high school. And his specialty was seafood. And then he and Murray Geller inaugurated the Crab Club, and over the years our families have gotten together and enjoyed South Jersey sweet corn, clams on half shell, and crabs, Maryland spiced crabs. Over the past couple of years, Dad's mostly traveled in the local area to choir practice, Laurelwood Gardens, the shore, visiting with friends and family. And in the past year, he and I have enjoyed multiple crab and clam feasts at his kitchen table, with the last one being about a month ago, in which we broke a record for how long it took us to eat 2 crabs each. It took us 3 hours to eat 2 crabs, and they were not big crabs. But you had to get every little bit of meat out of there. In these last 6 years, since we moved, Scott and I moved back down to South Jersey, I've gotten to know my parents in ways I never had before. My father has always been my most persistent and insistent supporter, cajoling and cheering me on at every turn. But now, I became closer to him and Mom in new ways, spending so much time with them. It was my pleasure to return to them a tiny fraction of what they'd given to us. Dad was still devising fixes for everything up till the end. I just wish he could fix my broken heart too.
I include this poem as if Phil would be responding to your words, Linda. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took God's hand when I heard God call. I turned my back and I left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work or play. Task left undone must stay that way. I found that place at the close of day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss, yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full. I savored much. Good friends, good times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now. God set me free. Let us all rise. El Mole Rachamim Shochen Barmomim Chametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina. l'nishmat Peresh, shechalach le'olamo. Ba'al harachamim yitzror bitzur hachayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'namar Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest unto the soul of Peresh, Phillip Miller, who has departed from this world. Lord of mercy, bring him into your presence and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou his possession, and may he rest in peace, and may they rest in peace together. Amen. You may be seated. I have been asked to announce that there will be a Shiva Minyan service Saturday evening at 7 p.m. at the home of Linda and Scott. That is 228 Crystal Lake Avenue in Audubon. And the family just requests, they would love to see you, but that all visitors be masked and vaccinated. Thank you.
We may have the pallbearers, please. Now ask everyone to rise once more, please. I'll ask everyone to have a seat for just a moment, please.